नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम् अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः यश्छन्दसामिषभो विश्वरूपः छन्दोभ्योऽध्यमृतात् सम्बभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया आस्पृणोतु अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासं शरीरं मे विचर्षणं जिह्वा मे मधुमत्तमा कर्णाभ्यां भूरिविश्रुवं ब्रह्मणः कोशोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः अहं वृक्षस्य रेरिव कीर्तिः पृष्ठं गिरेरिव ऊर्ध्वपवित्रो वाजिनीव स्वमृतमस्मि द्रविणगुंसवर्चसं सुमेधा अमृतोक्षितः इति त्रिशङ्कुर्वेदानुवचनम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः आप्यायन्तु मम अङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुः श्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यां मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः वाङ् मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य आनीस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनादितेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः भद्रं नो अपि वातय मनः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः यो ब्रह्मानं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तगुंहदेवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं योगीन्द्रमथास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमथास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तं तोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यानस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततो मानतोऽस्मि। ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यत्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये यस्यैव स्फुरणं सदात्मकम् असत्कल्पार्थकं भासते साक्षात् तत्त्वमसीति वेदवचसा यो बोधयत्याश्रितान् यत्साक्षात्करणाद् भवेन्न पुनरावृत्तिर्भवाम्भोनिधौ तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नानाच्छिद्रघटोदरस्थितमहादीपप्रभाभास्वरं ज्ञानं यस्य तु चक्षुरादिकरणद्वारा बहिस्पन्दते जानामीति तमेव भान्तमनुभात्येतत्समस्तं जगत् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये देहं प्राणमपीन्द्रियानपि चलां बुद्धिं च शून्यं विदुः स्त्रीबालान्धजडोपमास्त्वहमिति भ्रान्ताभृशंवादिनः मायाशक्तिविलासकल्पितमहाव्यामोहसंहारिणे तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। So before we begin the class today, I just want to run a quick audio test, because in the last Saturday's Kaivalya Upanishad class there was some feedback that the audio was not was acting up. So I thought I would do the following with your help. There is a connection from the back of the camera with this audio extension here, which is put here. So I'm going to just so this is one test of the audio. So you tell me whether the audio is better with this or when I take it out without this. Okay, so with that, what I'm going to do is to just spend a couple of minutes just looking at the chat window to see what the feedback is. Okay, so let's do that. So this one is already done. You know what the sound looks like, what it sounds like with this extension on. Now I'm going to remove the extension. So let me remove the extension and then I will look at the chat. Okay. Um, Now can you hear me? I'll wait for your still no sound? Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. So we will keep the extension on. Thanks. I think without the extension, which we used to have before, there needs to be an adjustment which Raj does. I'm not very good at figuring that out. So we will continue to work on it, but for the now time being, the extension is back on. Okay. All right, so now let's begin the class. So where were we? Where we were a week ago was to look at the fourth sutra. So let's just chant all the four sutras. Athato Brahma Jigyasa, Athato Brahma Jigyasa, Janmadyasya Yataha, Janmadyasya Yataha, Shastrayonitvat, Shastrayonitvat, Tattu Samanvayat, Tattu Samanvayat. So we are doing the fourth sutra. And within the fourth sutra, we are analyzing the word tu, the middle word out of the three words, tattu samanvayat. And as you know, the meaning of the word tu here is purva paksha vyavrityartha, means that the Tatparya, the central idea of Vedanta, central idea of the Brahma Sutra is the same as the central idea of all the Upanishads, Vedanta in fact. So this is why these Brahma Sutras are called Vedanta Sutras. So we've talked about it in the very beginning. This is not somebody's idea. So Vyasacharya is not starting the ideas. This all comes from Ishvara, but all he is doing is confirming it, editing it, modifying some aspects of it. That's all. That's all that he's doing. So it's a Vedanta Shastra, and the fourth sutra, Tattu Samanvayat, points out the Samanvaya between all of the various Upanishads. Samanvaya means consistency. Ekaparatvam in Sanskritam means a single single idea. It's not multiple ideas they may have some aspects of it, but the basic idea is the same, which is that you are not just a human being, you are in fact Parameshwara, in the sense that you are the very Brahman. You are the very essence of the whole creation. This is an amazing thing which we don't normally easily accept. We don't hear about it. And even when we hear about it, we don't normally accept. So this has to be reiterated. It's a fact. What can we do? Fact is a fact. You want me to just keep quiet about it? I'll keep quiet about it. Okay, but that's how the world goes. We keep quiet about it. People just go around having problems in their life and so on. But the fact of the matter is, this is the central theme. So then the word tu comes in, which is called Purva Paksha Vyavrityartha. Means that any challenges to this central idea have to be examined. And we have to acquit ourselves. It is like, very much like somebody who has not really committed the crime that one is accused of. So you know very well you did not commit the crime. But for whatever reasons, either through ignorance or through some connivance, there have been so many instances where the wrong person was accused because it served the purpose of protecting someone else that the corrupt police was protecting. It happens not all the time, but it happens quite often. So like that, you and I are not guilty. Guilty in the sense that we are not a samsari. A samsari is the guilty party. A samsari means the one who is beset with daily problems of one kind or the other, either done by outside things or through my own body. As I grow older, body starts to give problems. Certainly the mind abets it, saying, yes, you are getting very old and you don't have far to live, you've got lots of problems, this, that, or the other. So all kinds of accusations are given over to me, and I just sort of, in the beginning, I accepted it. But the Shastra says, no, don't accept it. This is not true. It's like a dream. Just like a dream, you are not you. It's something different than what you are going through. And let me explain that to you. So you are not guilty. There comes the Purva Paksha, says, how can you say that it is not guilty? This is our normal experience, and so on and so forth. So what you have to do is, they have various ideas. The most important idea is that, okay, you have some faith in God, and then maybe if you keep on doing good karmas, then in the next life you'll do better, then you'll go to heaven, and then you have different gradations of heaven. Everybody has a different idea of heavens and so on, but even in the Hindus, this is a very prevalent view, that the moksha, the freedom from all problems, is not possible in this life. Not possible in this life, but maybe if you keep on working, in the next life it may be better. And then you can go to Swargaloka. So this is the Purva Paksha. And so Vedanta and the Brahma Sutra says no. We don't accept it. Let me tell you why. So this discussion is now going on. And so where we were on this, now to pick up the stress, let's pick up the thread and let's move quickly. Purva Pakshi says, knowledge is useless until you do something. Jnanam is not useful, like cooking and so on. That cooking is just a start, then you have to really cook. You have to do something. So don't tell me that jnanam alone will give you moksha. It is not possible. So he gives various arguments. We saw all of that. So here, the Vedantin, which is provided by Vyasacharya, Adi Shankara, and all the traditional sampradaya, says, you are right in general. We are right, we agree with you. We're not fools. We know exactly what jnanam and the limitations of jnanam are for worldly activities. But there is an exception. There are exceptions. And the exception is that if the confusion is caused by an erroneous assumption, an erroneous idea in notion is a good word. I have a certain notion about things, that this is the way things are. And if that notion is false, as it is in the case of the rope and snake as the example, then after the correction of the notion, if the notion is false, after the falsity is pointed out, there is nothing else that you need to do. Nothing. There is no karma required. So this is the exception. Now, this is very similar to what we started with, what we have been saying for quite a long time, that praptihi, the acquisition of something, has two kinds. Apraptasya praptihi and praptasya praptihi. Apraptasya praptihi means the acquisition of the not yet acquired, and praptasya praptihi is acquisition of something which is already acquired but somehow ignored. It is so funny. I thought that I would give that parallel between, that jnanam, if it is based on a notion, the correction of the notion itself is the solution, moksha. I would give a parallel between that and this praptasya prapti. Let me tell you my experience in the last 10 minutes. Fascinating, really. So I have this Fitbit watch, and this Fitbit watch is on my left wrist. Okay? And when I got the watch, this is where I used to put it. Then in the summertime, somehow the band of this Fitbit bat would give me an irritation on my skin. This is something I've used to all my life. There's somehow the material of it becomes sweaty or something, and it creates a problem, and I just, then I cannot do it. So then what I do is, I put this in my pocket. And so it still measures the steps. Even if it's in the pocket, it doesn't have to be on my hand. And I'm interested in measuring how many steps I've taken during the day so that I keep on, moving, and I have a certain goal and I want to meet that goal. Okay, so this is the background. This happened 10 minutes ago. So, after taking a shower, normally I put this in the pocket. I keep it in the pocket the whole day. Today, I happened to go back to my old habits because I was busy thinking about the class and so on. So I put this Fitbit watch on my wrist, and the sleeve of the kurta just hit it. I come down here and I said, where's my watch? So I says, it must be on the last night's pocket. I had gone out and I was wearing pants, and it must be there. Well, it's not there. Then about 6 minutes left for the class, then I started searching for it. I asked my wife, I says, have you seen my watch? She says, no, I haven't seen the watch. I'm going around and so on. So finally, I decided, you know what, the class is starting. Let me not worry about it. I will do that later on. Okay, so I just was removing this. Here it is. It is very light. I can't feel it. It's not as though it is there. This is the exception. So in this case, my looking for the watch, this is a real example in the last 15 minutes now. So Adi Shankara says that jnanam, normally you are right. But in cases where it's a notion which is incorrect, then the correction of the notion itself will give you jnanam. Okay? Alright. Then the question is, okay, Purva Paksha says, okay, I accept it. Thanks for pointing it out. But how do you know that Vedanta, Upanishads, fall under this exception? How do you know that? There he says, glad you asked, because again this is samanvaya. This is samanvaya means it is consistency. It's present all over, not just one Upanishad which is not corroborated by others. No. There are different words used, but the central theme is the same, that jnanam alone is enough. And so here are some examples. We take it from Ishavasyam. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atma eva anubhut janataha tatra ko mohaha ka shokaha ekatvam anupashyataha. He says, once you understand, then there is the whole thing disappears. Kena Upanishad. We are doing this word. Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate atmana vindate viryam vidyaya vindate mritam. He says that once you understand that you are the only reality behind all the bodhas. Bodhas means all cognitions. This is a table, this is a cognition, this is a chair, cognition. Not possible without you being there. You are always there, everything comes and goes. If you know that, amritatvam hi vindate, you have become immortal. You transition from mortality to immortality if you can understand this fact. Kenopanishad. Kathopanishad. Eko vashi sarvabhutantaratma ekam rupam bahuda yaf karoti tam atmastham ye anupashyanti dhiraha tesham sukham shashvatam na iteresham. I don't have time to read. There's a lot of thoughts along all this, but all central. Prashna. Ye viduhu te amritatvam vindate. Very clear. Those who know become immortal. They become timeless. Similarly in Mundika, Mandukya amatras chaturtho avyavaharyaha prapancha upashamaha shivaha advaitaha evam onkaraha atma ev samvidatmani atmanam ya evam veda sa evam veda. Taittiriya Upanishad. Yo Veda nihitam guhayam parame vyoman soashnute sarvan kaman saha brahmana vipaschiteti. Aitareya pragyanam brahma chandogya tarati shokam atmavit brihadaranyaka kaivalya sarvabhutastha atmanam, which we will do in the kaivalya. Sarvabhutani cha chatmani sampashyan brahma param gyatina anyena hetuna. Purusha Suktam. Vedaham etam purusha mahantam aditya varnam tamasastu pare. Tameva vidwan amritam iha bhavati na anyaf pantha ayanaya vidyate. Bhagavad Gita. Ajnanena avritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha jnanena tu satyajnanam yesham na ashitatmanaha tesham adityavat jnanam prakashayati tatparam. If you look at the translation of all of these words, it says, all you need is knowledge. So don't tell me that this is, that how do you know this is, Vedanta is an exception that falls under this praptasya praptihi rule. This is the praptasya praptihi. My watch was right here. And I was literally looking all over. I went upstairs. I said, maybe I put it in the closet. Then I went to my office upstairs. And I said, oh, maybe I just put it on. But I said, no, I don't think I came here. It took me like 2-3 minutes to look around. Finally, I had decided, you know what? I don't have time. The class is starting. And I'm not going to really keep looking for it. I'll look at it later on. Inside, I still had this feeling. How could I? It was right there itself. I put it on right after my taking a shower, and I was just dressing up, putting my clothes on, and then when I did this, gone. Notion that my watch is not with me. Correction of the notion, done. After that, what am I going to do? Some karma and some upasana and say, oh Bhagavan, so please make sure that there's nothing else to be done. And this is nothing but an embellishment of this example. The whole world, my samsara, is nothing but this. So anyway, so this is the this answers the doubt. How do you know that all the Vedanta falls under this category? We know because you just read everything, it all comes out to the same one. So then the next point is that all the Bhattamatha and Prabharaka, they said, as you know, just a revision, that the Vedanta Vakyas, which is Siddha Bodhaka Vakyas, right? It is not Kriya Bodhaka Vakya, it is Siddha Bodhaka Vakya. Siddha Bodhaka Vakya means it's a statement of already something which is already there. That does, from their standpoint, from the standpoint of the Purva Paksha, that doesn't sound useful at all, for all the reasons that we have been going through. The only thing I can tell you is, if you connect it, if the Siddha Bodhaka Vakyas are connected to Kriya Bodhaka Vakyas, if the statement of something which is already established can somehow be connected to the statements of what needs to be done, then I'm okay with it. I don't completely accept it, but I'm okay with it. If you can show me the connection. So there we saw that there were two ways of looking at it. One was the Bhattamatha, which said that you can actually take any of the Vedanta Vakyas and connect it to any of the Kriya Vakyas. Prabharaka said no. I am agreeing with you that connection has to be there, but the connection has to be done in a very organized manner. And the organized manner is that there are two kinds of karmas. One is the kayika karma, which is a body karma, all the pujas and so on and so forth. The other one is the manasik karma, which is mental karma, upasana. And so really speaking, the jnana vakyas should be connected only to the upasana, not to the kayika vakyas. So this was an improvement. They said, wow, we have a new insight. I think this is how the connection should be done. And so we are just sitting there watching these two people argue. And then they say, see, now you're okay with it now. So we said, no, we're not okay with any of your false conclusions. We say there is no connect. In fact, it is the opposite connection between karma and jnana. As we know it by now, and I will explain it a little bit better in a few minutes. So our point is that no, there is no connection between jnanam and karma. And we say there are three things pertaining to this non-connection. Okay? So one is that the karma sambandha is not required. So let me say all three of them, then I'll explain each one of them. So one is that the karma sambandha is not required. The second one is the karma sambandha is not intended in the scriptures. And the third one is that the karma sambandha, karma jnanam sambandha, we are talking about sambandha means connection, and jnana and karma means between knowledge and action. There is no connection. So the lack of connection has three aspects to it. One is that it is not required. Secondly, it is not intended. And the third one is that it is not possible. So let's look into all three of them. First of all, it is not required. That we have already proven. That if in fact it is due to a notion then you don't require karma. There's no connection. There's no connection. You just know it, and that's the end of the whole search. So not required, we have already covered. Not intended. Let's go to the second one. So it says that, listen, if the Shastra intended to establish a connection between jnanam and karma, would it not make sense that it would praise it, reiterate it, emphasize it? Would it not do it? Anything that you want to do, he says, let's go there. I think that's a great place. So you praise it. It'll be a wonderful time if we go there. You reiterate it. Let's do it. Wouldn't you do that? Instead, the Shastra says, na karmana na prajaya dhanena amritatvaman shuhu. He says, no karma is required, no dharma is required, no praja is required, no dhanam is required, nothing, just the jnanam alone is enough. Is this intended? Is this some kind of a praise? You're criticizing it on one hand, and then you're saying, yes, you should do that? Doesn't make any sense. So no. Vedanta has not really endorsed, or it has not intended to endorse it. No. So the second one is also not there. This is karmana ninditvat. Ninditvat means that because of the criticism of karma, you can say that it is not there. Then the third one is impossibility. Impossibility how? Because to do a karma, you must be a karta. You must have a status of being a doer. So anything in life, it all depends on who is doing it. Sometimes we say, we have decided to go there. We have decided to make a visit. So you can ask, and he says, who do you mean by we decided? Well, my wife decided that we really need to visit this friend. And I agreed with her. There's a friend who was in the hospital, and my wife said, it is important for us to go visit this person to show our appreciation for our friendship. And that had not yet occurred to me, but once I found that out, then I said, yes, let's do it. So when we say we went, we are going to go, one person, generally speaking, is behind all of that. And she has the right attitude, she has the right understanding that, we've been friends for a long time, this is unusual, we have not seen them for a while. So this is what is called kartapan. So she has a personality for that particular going to that day. Could be other things for me, could be other things for you, and so on. So for karma, varna and ashrama is also important. Are you a grihastha? Are you a sannyasi? And what is your status in terms of what you're required to do? Brahmanas are required to do something else. Kshatriyas are required to do something else. So the kartritvam also requires the status of who that is. Dvaita is required. Duality is required. What are you going to do for whom at what time? None of that is relevant in Vedanta. There is no karta. There is no bhokta. The whole dream is gone. All the actions in the dream, all the drama in the dream, gone. Right in the middle of it. oftentimes it's interesting, I see a pattern in some of the dreams that I have where I say that I'm searching for some, which is exactly how the dream is, because the dream is really just has vasanas from your waking life. In the waking life, we all are, I am, searching for this truth about myself. And it's elusive. It's not easy to do. So that sense goes into the dream, and oftentimes my dream dream is concerning about I'm searching for some places. I'm asking, and so on. And I often find that sometimes I'm not able to find it, so I'm still kind of frustrated. I'm looking for it, and so on. All of a sudden, the dream ends. It happens from time to time, I can tell. Then my search for something also is finished. Dream finished. There's a smile on my face. Oh my gosh, I'm free from all of that. And so, really speaking here, the Advaita says there is no karta, no bhokta. So there is impossible to have a connection between karma and jnana. So here, one other thing, then the Purvamimamsaka says that if you look at the Vedas, Karma Kanda, there's only two stages of the Karma Kanda. One is Sadhya and the other one is Sadhana. Sadhya Sadhana, only two. Sadhya means what needs to be established. So in a way it is like karma phala. I want some results. I mean, we just take a general case where you go to the temple for some specific results. I want my son who has applied to MIT to get into MIT. This is what I want. So you do a lot of pujas. Of course, the son is working hard. You're also working with this son or daughter. And so I do all of that. But then in addition to that, you go to the temple to seek the blessings of the local devata. And that's what you want to do. So you do a puja, you give some money to the pujari to do it right. You also spend some money, you spread it around, give fruits to everybody, all because you want certain results. And you say, my son or my daughter is applying to MIT, and please make sure that their application is well considered, and please make them because they really want to go to MIT. And after 4 months, the results will come out. So the results are what is called sadhya. Sadhya means what needs to be established. And sadhana is all the means of doing it. Prayers, getting to the temple, getting a yajna done, working hard, making sure that you study. All of that is sadhana. So the Karma Kandan says there are only two things in the Vedas. One is sadhya and the other one is sadhana. Now, which of them are you in? Tell me. He asks. Hey Vedantin, are you a sadhana or are you a sadhya? So we say no. We are in neither of them. What? How can you say you are in neither one of them? I only gave you two ones. No. You missed out a third one, which is called sadhaka. Sadhaka means the one who is the person behind both sadhana and sadhya. Not only the karma but also karma phala. He's there before, he or she is there before karma and after karma, before karma phala, after karma phala. Same person. And there is some confusion about who that person is. And that's what we are examining. So we are neither sadhya nor sadhana. So this is one of all this is given in the discussion of the fourth sutra. Shankara Bhashya is voluminous. One of the biggest Shankara Bhashya out of any of the Brahma Sutras is in this one. I think I sent you copies of that, and it'll be a challenge to sort of, once all these concepts have been aired out, it'll be a challenge for us to go back and look for specific passages from the Shankara Bhashya and connect it to these concepts. So I don't know, we'll have to do that somehow or the other. But right now I'm just doing conceptually. I've abandoned going sentence by sentence because it's a very voluminous. Here, I have it all here. I think you have copies of it. So if you look at the Janmadhyasya Yataha is 2 pages, right? Page 7 and 8. Then Shastra Yonitvad is like a page and a half. And so Tattu Samanvayat starts with page 11 and goes up to the end, which is I think 21, 10 pages. So I'll just read a couple of sentences just to connect, and I'll go back to the conceptual. He says, Tu Shabdaha Purva Paksha Vyavritti Arthaha. Already talked about it. Tad Brahma Sarvagyam Sarvashakti Jagat Utpatti Sthiti Laya Karanam Vedanta Shastra Avagamyate. Katham Samanvayat Sarveshu hi Vedanteshu Vakyani Tatparyena Etasya Arthasya Pradipatakattvena Samagutani. Sadeva Saumya idamagra asid ekam eva advitiyam atma va idamak eka agre asid tad etad brahma apurva mana, on and on and on. So it will be an interesting challenge. Let's see. I won't really get too much bogged down to it, but I made a promise that we will actually do some of the Shankara Bhashya. So after we've, I think, finished the conceptual tour of the fourth sutra, I will go back and pick out some of the Vakyas so that you get a sense of how these concepts are indeed born out of Shankara Bhashya. These are not independent ideas because we are committed to following Shankara Bhashya as far as the way of looking at Brahma Sutra is concerned. So I will follow it. Anyway, so go back to, so we went through the fact that it is neither sadhya nor sadhana, it is really sadhaka. Okay. Then the next one is, Purva Paksha says, wait a second. You are saying you are a sadhaka. You are examining the sadhaka. So we say yes. Okay. Where is the need for Vedanta to talk about you? Don't you already know about yourself? Why do you have to? You can just examine yourself completely. So what is their thing about sadhaka? You should talk about what needs to be done to improve the sadhaka. But to simply keep on examining the sadhaka, how is that going to help? So we already know, which is already evident. So why should Vedanta reveal something which is already evident? Now there is a figure of speech in Vedanta called Pishtasya Pechanam. Pishtasya Pechanam. Pishtasya Pechanam means one which is the effort of making something fine when it is already fine. You know, supposing you buy some, I don't know, so let's look at some food where you make a powder out of it. So let's say you take some, I don't know, just take some pills, some pills. And your objective is to make a powder out of it. Now, if you already have it as a powder, there is no need to grind it any further. Coffee beans, that's a good idea. I think that'll be a good example. So many people want to drink coffee from fresh coffee beans. And so then they bring it home. They don't really grind it until the last minute when the coffee is to be drunk, and then freshly grind it. And then they make the coffee. But suppose you are tired of doing that, and you can go to Costco and you can get the ground coffee of the various kinds. You can go to, various kind of Peet's coffee, you can get ground coffee. If you get a ground coffee, it is already ground. So you don't have to grind it any further. This is called Pishtasya Pechanam. Pechanam means to grind, to make it into a powder. You cannot, if the powder is already there's no need to do it. So similarly, the Purva Paksha says, you're already there as a human being. What is there to talk about in terms of you and so on and so forth? So here Vedanta says, you are almost right but not quite right. How? Because there is a thing called Samanya Jnanam and Vishesha Jnanam. Samanya Jnanam means general knowledge about yourself. That I have a body that has some skin and bones, and I need food. Knowledge, samanya jnanam, general knowledge. But there is some vishesha jnanam that you're missing. And perfect example of that is the 10th man story, which we also referred to in the last class. So in the 10th man story, the samanya jnanam is there that I am a boy, 18 years old, and I am the leader of this group, and the teacher told me to take care of everybody, and I am the senior most boy in this, all 10 boys that are there, and this is all samanya jnanam. Vishesha jnanam is that I am that person that I am searching for. So, Vedanta says the samanya jnanam is aham, I am a human being. This is samanya jnanam. I am a limited being. Vishesha jnanam is what I consider to be a limited jivatma is really Paramatma. This is the Vishesha jnana. This I lack. And this is what is revealed by the Shastra. Because there's no other way to reveal it. Only the Shastra has to say, oh my God, you're missing something major in the way you are accounting for yourself. So I disagree that it is Pishtasya Pechanam, that it is already there and you are just repeating it. So no, that's not true at all. Okay. So now so far we were playing defense. Playing defense because the Purva Paksha was saying you're not relevant. So we said, of course we are. And if you're relevant, then you have to have some kind of a connection. So we don't say no. We don't need a connection. All of that. So we were playing defense. They were giving some arguments and we were replying to it and answering it and so on. But now we go on the offense. And what we say is, you have a completely wrong view of karma. We don't reject karma, but we reject the ultimate aim of karma. Karma means the tendency to do something. Tendency to do something. So it means that Swami Dayanandaji, this was one of his favorite ways of saying, the becoming person is the expression of karma. Becoming person means you are continuously evaluating yourself and saying, how am I doing in life? Am I acceptable to myself? Forget about others for the time being. We get into a lot of issues whether I'm acceptable to others. Generally speaking, our hang up is with respect to am I acceptable to myself or not? And the answer always is no. Self-acceptability is an exception rather than the rule. The rule is I'm not the way I want to be. So you're going to ask yourself, why? Why don't you accept yourself? Well, I'm not totally happy with myself. All right, so you're not totally happy with yourself. So maybe that's your nature. You should just accept it, that you are a miserable person. That's your nature. So you must be happy about the fact that you are miserable. So we say, no, I cannot do that. I naturally am unhappy because I'm unhappy. I'm not naturally happy that I'm unhappy. So therefore, I need to do something. It is unacceptable. Okay, fine. So what can you do? I am not sure, but I'm trying. Okay, why? How come that you have not really? How old are you? Says, I'm 63. Well, you're 63 years old, and all your life you've been doing different things and so on. It's not getting you somewhere. Not getting you to the point where you are completely happy with yourself. Why are you still continuing it? Because hope is always there. Maybe something will happen to me where I become completely acceptable to myself. And so I keep on changing things, becoming. And we do variety of things. We improve our health. we lose weight, and we do more exercise. The New Year's resolutions. Every year, New Year resolutions come in. From now on, I'm going to start the day by walking. And I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to improve my financial position. And I'm going to get a new job, or I need to get married, or I need to get divorced, or I need to do this. All kinds of things. So this is what is called karma. And so I'm worrying about it, and I'm just hoping for some improvement by going from point A to point B. This is what karma means. So the Shastra says, Vedanta Shastra says, can I tell you something? You are dreaming if you think you will reach a point of not wanting to change. Everything is all done. So this is what is called Krita Kritya. Kritya means what needs to be done, is called Krita. Krita Krityata. No desires, I'm happy the way I am right now. That stage will never come through karma. Can you please see that? So I said, I don't see that, but I don't know what else to do. I'll tell you what you should do. So look at the impossibility. You may not realize it, but you're never going to get to that point by karma. And so the only thing is that perhaps you don't need to do it at all. That's not possible because my nature is not accepting any limitations. So this is very obvious that my nature must be, okay, fine, I understand that. That is a good way to look at it. So should you not examine that perhaps your nature is complete acceptance of yourself, but somehow there is some missing pieces. So you say, really? Is that possible? Yeah. Praptasya praptihi. Okay, in that case, tell me. And so, now, so this is what the Karma Kanda and the Jnana Kanda, the Karma Vakyas and the Kriya Vakyas and the Siddha Bodhika Vakyas differ, as we have been seeing. So, he says that I want to tell you that Karma Kanda is the pramanam. It's the only pramanam. Pramana means the means of gaining moksha is karma kanda. Doing some things. That's the pramanam. And you say that jnana kanda is the pramanam. Now, we are now taking the we are taking the offense. We are now on the front foot. If you play cricket or if you watch cricket, the terminology used there is on the back foot or at the front foot. So the back foot is that you're not going to score any hits, but you just want to protect the wicket. It's called back foot defense. Offense is where you go forward and you try to meet the ball early and to drive it someplace. Anyway, I used to play cricket a lot. That was my D game in India. And so this is called offense and defense. So here we say, okay, let us define pramanam for a minute. What is the nature of pramanam? So there we all agree the definition of pramanam, and we've already given that before, but let me repeat it. It says abadhitam, anadigatam, in fact anadigatam first, anadigatam, abadhitam, saprayojana bodhakam artha pramanam. This is an important definition. We should really remember this. So when you say that pramanam, pramanam means what is the proof? Some uniqueness. Like for example, the very normal example is that you cannot, if you want to see some things, then you need to have functioning eyes. Functioning eyes are the pramanam for seeing all the forms in life. Similarly, the pramana for sound is functioning ears. Not only just the ear itself, but all the mechanism that goes there behind the ear to support the sound. It's an amazing thing how sound is, like anything else, how sound is created and how it is received and how it goes in and it gets transformed into vibrations, into more subtler forms of vibrations that go into the inner ear, and then the nerves go into the brain, and then you can compare it to stored software and says, I think this is that person talking. All kinds of stuff happens. So this is called pramanam. Ears are the pramanam. Functioning ears are the pramanam. Functioning eyes are the pramanam. This is called pramanam. So now we are looking at what is the pramanam for moksha. Right? So any pramanam is anadigatam. Anadigatam means one which there is no other way of looking at it. You cannot look at forms without eyes. Anadigatam. Unique. So you can say unique. It's a unique method. Vilakshanam. It is another word that is used. Vilakshanam. Laksham means Vishesha Lakshanam. It's a very unique way of looking at things. It's called anadigatam. Abadhitam. Abadhitam means one which cannot be removed. You cannot say that this is now, it used to be there first, but now it is no longer visible. I'm not saying I'm stating it correctly. Abadhitam means one which is not transgressible. I mean, once your eyes are seeing something, then you cannot say this is, you're not seeing anything. There we have some issues because it's very possible that you may be able to see a fruit which is made out of stone. But anyway, seeing the stone fruit also is abadhitam. You cannot say you're not seeing anything. I am seeing it. What are you talking about? Abadhitam. Then saprayojakam or prayojanam. Saprayojakam means that it should be useful. It must have some functionality associated with it. And then once that is done, this is called pramana. So now, having established that definition, let's look at both karmakanda and jnanakanda. Let's take jnanakanda first. Atma is, Jivatma is the same as Jivesh is the Paramatma. Jivatma is the same as Paramatma. Is it known by anyone without the Shastra pointing out? No. It's called anadigatam. Not Another word used is apurvam. Purvam yasya na vidyate iti apurvam. Means before that this was not known. Until Shastra says it and you understand it, nothing else was there before that. It's called anadigatam. Abadhitam. Once it is known, you cannot transgress it. You cannot remove it. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. That the very nature of consciousness is Satyam. There is no Asat there at all. After that, nothing transgresses it. Abadhitam. Saprayojanam. Brahma bhavo hi mokshaha. Abrahmatvam removed. Limitations removed, becomes already naturally unlimited. So, Jnanakanda fulfills the definition of pramana. Now let's look at Karmakanda. Karmakanda, anadikatam, we agree. It is not there any other way to know that. That if you can do this yajna, and if you wanted a progeny, and you will get the progeny. If the woman and the man are normal, there's nothing wrong with their bodies. And then if for some reason progeny is not being born, you can do certain yajnas and the progeny will be born. This is not possible by any other means. I mean, you can have some medical for doing it, in vitro and all of those kinds of things. But we're talking about natural births. It is possible to do through yajna. Similarly, we wanted to create some rain, it is possible to do it through yajna. This is not known any other way. So we agree it is anadigatam. Now the question is it abadhitam? Can it be transgressed? And we say no, it is not abadhitam. How? Because once jnanam comes, then the dvaitam is gone. Because like in a dream there is dvaitam, there is a dreamer and a dreamt. But once the waking up comes up, the dvaitam is gone into advaitam. So, therefore, Karmakanda is not the right pramana. So then the last thing that is left is saprayojanam. And there we can now close the books and say that karma is useful as an adjunct to understand. This is what we've been saying all along. Bhagavad Gita also does it by karma yoga and so on. All of the Shastra says the same thing, that karma is useless. We never say that. All we say is that karma alone without jnanam is very limited. But of course karma you cannot do jnanam until the right karmas are done. So here karma doesn't mean that you just have to go to a temple, but you have to improve yourself to a point where you have a sense of maturity, as we are discussing in the Kaivalya Upanishad class. And that maturity, that sense of understanding, again, eligibility of understanding, comes from karma. Right attitude, doing things And so it is an important adjunct to jnanam, but you cannot reach moksha without jnana. So the usefulness of karmakanda has to be viewed from that perspective, not from the perspective that you're telling us. So with this, the discussion with respect to the karma mimamsa is now finished. It is now finished. We have gone through jnanam, karma, sambandha, pramanatvam, all of that, and it is now conceptually, we can close the books on that. The next thing that Shankara does in examining the word tu and the Purva Paksha is to take up another person, and this is called vrittikara. And this vrittikara raises the hand and says, I have a new viewpoint where we question the jnanam doing the moksha. It is called vrittikara. So we will discuss this vrittikara next in our discussion about the word tu as tattu samanvayat. Okay, so we will, with that I close the class, do a small, finish the puja, and then see if you have any questions. Om Rahu Grastak Divankarendusho Maya Samachadinat Sanmatra Karanopasamharanato Yo Bhut Sushuptaf Puman Pragaswapsamiti Prabodha Samaye Yapratyabhigyayate Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaitam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Balyadishu api jagradadishu tatha Sarva swavastha swapi Vyavritta svanuvartamanamaham Mityantaspurantam sada Swatmanam prakati karoti bhajatam Yo mudraya bhadraya Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaitam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Vishvam Pashyati Karya Karanataya Swaswami Sambandhataha Shishyacharya Tathaiva Pitra Putradhyatmana Bhedataha Swapne Jagrati Vaya Esha Purusho Maya Paribhramitaha Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Bhuram Bhamsya Nalo Nilo Ambar Maharnartho Himamshuh Puman Ityabhati Characharatmakamidam Yasyaiva Murtyashtakam Nanyat Kinchina Vidyate Vimrishatam Yasmat Parasmat Vibhoho Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Sarvatmatva Vibhav Sputikritamidam Yasmatamushminstave Tenasya Shravanat Tadarthamananat Dhyanat Sankirtanat Sarvatmatva Mahavibhuti Sahitam Syadishwaratvam Swataha Siddhyetat Punarashtadha Parinatam Chaishwaryam Avyahatam Ashubhani Nirachasthe Tanoti Shubhasantatim Smriti Matrena Yat Pumsam Brahmatan Mangalam Param Ati Kalyana Rupatvat Nitya Kalyana Samshayat Smartranam Varadatvatcha Brahmatad Mangalam Viduhu Omkarascha Shabdascha Dvavetau Brahmanah Pura Kantham Bhitva Viniryatau Tasmat Mangilakau Bhau Omatha 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 Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay, I'm happy that the sound started working. Still an issue. I'll work with Raj. So Zarina, I don't. Okay, you're talking about Satish to increase the volume on. I think the one thing that Raj had suggested was that if you really have a weak sound, you may want to consider getting headphones. That makes it a lot better. So anyway, I think apart from those technical aspects, I don't see any other Vedantic questions per se. I'll wait for a while. So while we're waiting, I should tell you that after the Zoom session last week, so we made a decision on how best to go forward, and I think the consensus is that all classes will continue to be on YouTube, and what we will do is once a quarter we will have an entire session just on satsang, and we'll invite all the three class students to participate, and an entire hour and a half, and perhaps if you want we can make it 2 hours, but I don't think that would be necessary, just an hour and a half of satsang. And so you could send questions ahead of time, either through an email or whatever, and then we will just go through your questions and have a complete session on Zoom on satsang itself. But the class teaching will continue to be on YouTube. So I will send you an email with all the details of that, but that's, I think, the plan going forward. And I believe, let me go to the calendar here. So the first satsang we will have will be on Saturday the 13th of November. So we have roughly about a month to go to accumulate your questions, and once a quarter after that approximately we will do a satsang session on Zoom. Okay, with that let me double check to see if there is any other questions. No, they are not. So with that, I take your leave, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Om.